G'day, welcome to Choo. Today I am going to show you how to make this strawberry and raspberry wine. So it's inspired by the notorious Viking Blood, which is a mead made with cherries. I guess it's a melomel. This is not a mead, although it is back sweetened with honey, so it's mead inspired, but really it's just a berry wine. Viking Blood is, I don't even know if they even used to do it back then. I haven't done my research, but basically it's just honey and cherries fermented into some kind of alcohol. My heritage is mostly Celtic, so not that any of that really matters to me, but it is good fun to learn about. I mean, when it comes to heritage, you go back far enough, you know, your great, you're gonna have tens of thousands of great grandparents. Of course, they're not going to be all from the same place. You know, you go back far enough, we all probably came from Africa. You go back further than that, we're all just slime crawling out of a pond somewhere. So depending on how far back you want to go would depend on what ancestry you think you are. So if you're thinking more modern times, it's a little bit easier to trace, obviously. So I thought instead of making a Nordic thing, I guess, or it's called Viking Blood, I don't know if they actually drank it or not, I decided to sort of focus more on my Celtic ancestry and go for something else. So back in the day, what we now call Austria was probably the region where the Celts first started, and then as the Romans pushed them over into Europe. That's why these days, in more modern days, we think of Celtic culture as sort of coming from Ireland or Scotland to that area, but it does, but it also goes back further than that into more Central Europe. And when the Romans were coming up there, they would refer to the Celts at the time as barbarians, you know, this savage culture, which as we're learning more and more about that culture, we realize that's not the case necessarily, but it is kind of fun. And these days, barbarian has taken on a new meaning, I guess, in fantasy and stuff like that. So I thought, long story short, instead of naming this Viking Blood, I've named it Barbarian's Blood, which is as geeky as I am. Wow. Okay, it has an interesting aftertaste. So at first it's quite sweet. It's got a strong alcohol taste, not very yeasty, which is interesting. It kind of does taste like cough medicine at the very end, just a hint of that. That sounds bad, but it works, man. That is very, very delicious. It's probably quite high in sugar, so I wouldn't have too many of these in a row, but it's also very high in alcohol. This kind of sweet wine always makes me want to have an adventure. Hey Xanthi, you up for an adventure?
Oh, mate.
Sitting in a tree with Xanthi, drinking mead in a tree. Sitting in a tree above the creek with Xanthi, drinking mead, but it's not really mead. Sitting in the mud by a stream, drinking barbarian's blood with Xanthi. Having an adventure in a Chinese elm tree, but Xanthi cannot get to me.
Barbarian's Blood. This is very simple. In 19 litres or a 5-gallon drum, I did 2 kilos of strawberries, 2 kilos of raspberries, which I boiled to get rid of any bugs or whatever. Even though it was frozen, I still like to heat them up. Put 6 kilos of white sugar in there, that's why it's quite sweet. 20 grams of pectinase, and I also put in 15 grams of thyme and 15 grams of rosemary. But what I did with that was I made a tea out of that first. So I boiled that up, let it steep for ages, and then once it cooled down, I poured that into the mix. So I didn't actually have all the leaf from that in there. So I basically just made a tincture or a tea out of it. I used the classic champagne yeast, EC1118, Lauven, whatever it's called. And the starting gravity was 1.1, and I can't remember what it ended at because I didn't write it down, but from my memory, this worked out to be around 9 to 10 ABV, alcohol by volume. So 10%, so, you know, mild for a wine, I guess, but strong for a drink. And like I said, you'd only have a couple of these because it's fucking sweet. But I'll take a couple of shots so you can see it actually worked out. I racked this twice into buckets and I'm yet to bottle it. So this is pretty young. This is only 2 months old. So after aging this for a little bit longer, I might even try to do a secondary ferment on a couple of the other ones because I haven't stabilized it yet. So I'm just sitting them in the buckets with the airlocks on there. So yeah, Barbarian's Blood. Let me know what you think of the name. Make it yourself. I mean, I'm sure someone's already done that same formula. I just thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. What you think I could do to improve this. Have you made something like this yourself? How did it go? And also check out the homebrew playlist on our YouTube channel. There's lots of different videos there. There's well, there's not too many at this stage, but there will be. I'm sort of leaning more into this, and as I go along my journey, I want to share everything I've learnt with you guys. Leave a comment, let's get a friendly discussion going. There's links to lots of different things in the description. So, Barbarian's Blood. Prost. Fuck, I did not expect that to break. That's annoying. Oh, if that doesn't get me a subscribe or at least a like, I don't know what will. That is going to be a prick to clean up. Fucking hell. God, that probably looked cringy as shit too.